This video, I wanted to talk about Tender is the Flesh. I already talked about it on TikTok and how much I loved it. It's definitely worthy of all the praise it got. But something I realized was the fact that people are only really talking about the cannibalism when there's so much more. Like, that's just the surface of Tender is the Flesh. So let's get into some of the things that we noticed, some of the overarching themes, and yeah. Alright, just a heads up, some announcements in the Blurred Library. We need to do these. In my arts and craft video, which, by the way, I have another one coming up. I'll speak about that afterwards. But in my arts and crafts video, I was doing a giveaway for the bookmarks, and I'm going to be posting about that this weekend as well. So as soon as this video comes out, you're also going to get a post saying who the winners for that giveaway are. So look out for that. But yes, I also have another arts and crafts video coming up. I was trying to organize my thoughts and what I want to do for that. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to paint the back of my jean jacket because it's something I wanted to do for the Black Comic Book Festival, but it was just going to take too long. And I went through my kids' arts and craft supplies, which, by the way, they have a lot, both of them. Like, art is how they decompress and de-stress in life. But I went through their stuff and I was like, no, we need separate things. We need separate things because I refuse to share with you. We share everything else. I don't want to share my art stuff. I'm going to be painting my jean jacket, and, you guys are coming along with me because I feel like that's something that we can all do, right? You could take your jeans, you could take something with denim and paint it. So that's what we'll do. I've been really good about reading one book a week because I said that's what I was going to do. I'm going to read one book a week and 3 graphic novels. So this week, even though I wasn't online as a lot, I was able to do that. I am so proud of myself. So yay. Alright, but let's get into Tender is the Flesh because that's why we're here. Alright, so we've seen Tender is the Flesh all over book spaces, book talk, bookstagram, what have you. And honestly, like I've said already, this book is definitely worth the hype. This was written by an Argentinian author, Augustina Bazterrica, and this was translated. Yeah, it was translated by Sarah Moses. Fantastic. I'm gonna put the video here. I've already gone off on some of these themes that this book talks about. This book is fucking phenomenal. I feel like you knew that, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm talking about Tender is the Flesh. So Jesse's been trying to get me to read this for the longest, and my library hold came in yesterday. So I was like, I'm gonna start it this morning. It's Thursday morning. I started at 6. I'm about 70% in. Good Lord, it's phenomenal. So we're having this conversation about cannibalism, and sure, that could be very basic, but it's not. We're talking full details of an entire industry that uses the human body the way, society and industry uses cows or any other meat product out right now. It is jarring on so many levels. So you're having to have that conversation about what is humanity, who do we see as humans, while also juxtaposing that against fucking the flashbacks of his life and trying to create life. So it's you're questioning the humanity of one, but then the others are completely fine. Who gets to decide? But we'll just get into a few others. So this a brief summary about this book. We follow a guy named Marcos, and he has several things going on with him, right? His kid recently died, so his wife is taking it really hard. She moved in with her mom, and he's having to wonder about his life with his wife, if he's in fact in love with her or anything like that, right? And then also mourn the death of his kid. Then we're dealing with his father, and his father once owned a business. They were in the meat industry at one point, and it was thriving, but things happened, right? So the father now has dementia, and he is the sole provider for his father, while also like having to balance familial relationships or lack of with his sister, who is a hot fucking mess. Like, she is so frustrating on so many levels. And you can understand Marco's frustration with her, but he's also having to deal with that. Then you see his complete disgust for this current meat industry that he's in, which is called special meats or human meat, right? This is where the cannibalism comes into it. And the main character is absolutely disgusted by the whole thing, but he's still heavily involved because that was the meat industry that him and his father was in. See, so you're seeing the main character navigate through his disgust in an industry that he's actually really good in. One day, someone gives him a gift, and this gift is human meat. It's a human woman, and this person doesn't have a name or anything like that. And you're watching him like decide what he's gonna do with her, and the choices he make. The choices. But I can't tell you more than that. Also, I'm giving a lot away. One of the things that comes up a lot in this book, one of the first things I recognized was like the concept of inquiry, right? And this like almost desperate need to, the author is like, yo, you have to question everything. And one of the biggest questions that came up for me in the book is like, was the actual animal disease real? Right? So in this society, the reason why cannibalism is even on the table and even an industry as big as it is because all animal meat is now poisonous, or at least that's what the government is saying. And what I loved about this book was the fact that the author doesn't like actually tell you up front. They don't confirm anything, right? They give you all of these things. So you get the story of how the government, you know, found out that animal meat is poisonous, and like all the steps that the government took to like protect humans. But you don't actually get that shit confirmed in any way. I thought that was sinister and brilliant by the author. You get the story, so like Marcos had to put his 2 dogs down and how everything is just quieter and all this stuff. You also get like these seeds of doubt woven throughout the entire story. So like the scene at the laboratory, right? How they're more focused on human testing than they are like actually finding a cure. Or like the scene, especially with the puppies, which by the way like broke my heart. I tried to hug my dog. My dog was like, "Who, bitch, why are you touching me?" And so I felt worse after that. But like that puppy scene and what happened with those teenagers, you never get a clear, because supposedly whenever if an animal bites you or if you eat their meat, you're supposed to get like really sick. Nothing gets confirmed, so you always are questioning like, yo, is this even true? Because then you also are given like the benefits of, you know, this human meat industry, and you're told that, hey, you know, poverty is down, overpopulation doesn't exist, you know, people are able to live comfortably in their lives. Like it makes you wonder why this was said. So I really enjoyed the fact that, you know, this exists, and as a reader, it's really left up to you to decide whether or not you're going to accept this, you're going to accept what, you know, the circumstances of this, or should you legit question everything? Because I feel like not enough people in the book, not enough characters were questioning anything, or like questioning to the point where it's outside and they're communicating with other people about these issues. Okay, so another thing that I didn't really see too many people talking about is just the rollout, right? The rollout to the human meat industry, because this was, you know, cannibalism is considered taboo. It's a taboo subject. It's not something that most people, at least in our society, comfortably go into, or like, yeah, we're gonna eat humans, right? So I loved what this author did with taboo, and something that I've been very interested in is the use of taboo in literature, specifically in speculative fiction, right? Because I personally believe that taboo allows you to like peel back the layers of our society's norms and values and really figure out person to person individually, like, what is morally good, what is morally bad, and it allows the reader to critically think, right? Taboo does wonders, but I feel like not a lot of authors or not a lot of people understand that, like, that's the use of it, and they focus more on the actual act. Now, yes, there are some things that just should not be engaged with. Some things pushed too far, where taboo is no longer a tool or a device to talk about other things. You're more stuck in the actual act. Like, a book that I had an issue with was Fledgling. I love Octavia Butler, but the taboo that happened specifically in Fledgling was a lot. I struggled so hard. I still think it's one of her best written books. It is phenomenal. The themes of agency and disability in that book are top tier masterclass. But to get to that was very, very, very hard. And so, you know, there's definitely a question as to how taboo is used, when it should be used, and what acts are okay to really talk about. But that's a video for another time, right? But specifically in Tender is the Flesh, you have the use of taboo, which is cannibalism, and is used to like show insight to our world and just how depraved, yes, depraved, no, maybe, just how bad, brain is not working right now, but just how bad or how sinister our society, I love that word sinister, but just how sinister our society can really devolve. I believe that was a tangent, but the rollout to human meat was mind-blowing, or rather, it like the parallels that were drawn are so similar to what we see in our society, right? And how propaganda and marketing have been used to like get us used to certain things that we normally as a society would say no to, right? And that rollout was just brilliant. Like, you could see how they would cut the meat, they would cut special meat to look like animal cuts, like pork and chicken and all of that. They would cut it, and then like even the terminology they use as animal for animal meat, so like made you more comfortable over time. And I'm like, yo, I've seen that happen. We're seeing that currently in our society in a number of ways, and like just thought that was a brilliant reference. Not enough people are talking about that. It's another reason why I love speculative fiction, right? It's when done right, it becomes a window into our actual world, and it allows us to, like Sammy Shelka said, I love that book, Body Minds Reimagined. I absolutely love it. Sammy Shelka goes on to say, like, speculative fiction can either, you know, we can either reimagine a new world where power dynamics and all of that are more balanced, or we can, you know, speculate on what things will look like if we continue down the path we're on. And this book really does show us what will happen if we continue on the current path we're on. As a trigger warning, sexual assault does happen in this book, in multiple ways. And I would like to say that it's not brought up in a traumatic way. The act itself is traumatic, but I feel like I've said it before in another video that there is a difference between traumatizing the reader just to prove a point, and bringing up trauma, you know, to help people understand like the gravity of a situation or anything like that. And this book brings up sexual trauma, and it's not just against women. It happens to the main character, Marco, and I thought that the author did a really good job with that voice, and like helping like showing how Marco like is processing that, because he's still having to interact with the person who did that to him. And then you're also seeing it in the human meat industry. Like it happens at so many levels in that industry. It is like, I firmly believe that if our world were to devolve and like engage in this kind of behavior, that this would actually happen, because so much of it unfortunately made sense. Seeing how these women are forcibly made to give birth to human meat, and the things that are done to them to maintain their inferiority, to maintain the product that they are carrying. I hate saying that word, to make sure that they don't, you know, off their kids. Like it's horrifying. But like there are so many other acts and behaviors that happen in this book that just show that society no longer cares about what human is, what caring for one another looks like. That's not modeled in any kind of way in this society. And I feel like that was like the biggest message that the author has, that, you know, giving into this type of industry, this type of choice, we all lose our humanity. Not just the people who are designated to be part of this human meat industry. We also have like the people who are considered society. They also lose their humanity in the process, because everyone is literally like, there's no consideration for another being on this planet. None. Everybody is doing whatever they want, and it is egregious on so many levels. It was deeply concerning. Like, yo, this is wild. And not only are they not caring about other people, they're also being very honest with themselves about the fact that nobody cares about them, right? And that's another thing that has to be taken into consideration, right? The fact that it's like, yo, I don't give a damn about anybody, but I also have no qualms. I hold no belief that anyone cares about me. At the end of the day, I just exist, and whatever happens to my body afterwards is whatever happens to my body. Like, I thought the author did a brilliant job with that as well. And something else that has me, like, I'm looking down at my notes here. It's like the prioritization of comfort. And you see that a lot with the main character, but like I said, because everybody else is really focused on themselves and not community, you see it in like every other facet of life. But everyone is prioritizing their comfort. I guess that does tie into what I was just saying. But like everybody is prioritizing their comfort. Like take Marcos, he is completely disgusted with this entire industry, but here you are. So people still engage with capitalism even though they can absolutely hate it, because like what other choice do some people have, right? And we still have to exist at some point, and we still have to live in the society. So like I understand that. But not only is he like interacting with the society, he is really fucking good at his job. And there were several times in the story where he could have made a difference, even if it was small. Like, right, like he could have let the guy get away with the filming of what happened in the factory, but he didn't. He protected that industry at a number of times, to the point where like before halfway point I was like, I don't like this guy at all. I don't like this main character. I don't think I'm supposed to like him. There was nothing about the man, because I felt like I said, he chose to sit in comfort rather than do the little he could to change things. Like, he didn't do like the minimum. So that right there made me think about, like, in our reality, because I always do this. I always bring everything into our reality, because that's the reason why I read, right? I read to get a better understanding of the world, and to see models of things that could be. Another reason why I read speculative fiction. It's models for things that could be, paths that we should and should not take, right? And so when I was reading this, it really made me think about what people should be doing. Like, if you live in a society that does things that you are disgusted with, what should you do? Inaction can't happen, because with inaction you are still protecting the structure that harms, right? But what can you do? Because there were multiple places where Marco wasn't asked to do a lot. There was, like I said, small things he could have done, small changes he could have made, and he wasn't even did that. He didn't even do it. He constantly thought of himself the whole way through. And yeah, that's something I had to sit with for a while. Like, I really had to go, okay, well, am I doing even like the bare minimum in my life? And I came to decide, like, I am doing the bare minimum. I also could be doing more. Comfort should never happen. I find comfort shouldn't happen when you're in a society, in a structure, in a system that you hate. But also you find out that Marco doesn't quite hate the system. You find that out. He doesn't hate the system. And then femicide. The femicide was something that was brought up to me by Jessie. Jessie was the one who was like, hey, you should read this book. I'm dying to see what you think of it. And she was the one that brought that up. So I was like, okay, so I know about indigenous women in Northern America who are going missing, who are being killed. I know black women, black trans women are being killed at big proportions. So I was like, okay, Jessie is bringing this up, which means that this is something that's also happening in South America. So then that's when I had to go do some research. So this book was originally, this book is written by Argentinian authors. So that's where I started, in Argentina. And wow, that information, I mean, it is not shocking, because I know that femicide happens all over the world. But to get those numbers, and the fact that in South America, it's been steadily increasing. Like, the rates were sitting around 300 prior to the pandemic. It went down a little bit during the pandemic, and then skyrocketed in the last 2 years, which is absolutely absurd. This year in Argentina, and in South America as a whole, femicide is on track to outpace last year's numbers, which sat closer between 300 and 400, I believe. The rate was, prior to the pandemic, that every 35 hours a woman would be killed, right? It was every 32 hours an Argentinian woman is killed, but now it's every, like, under 30 hours. Like, the rate is steadily increasing, and it's very concerning. I didn't know that, like, those rates were that high. That is so, just like to harm a woman just because she is a woman, because you believe that you can't control her, that you can do these things to her because of where her gender sits in the hierarchy of society, is fucking infuriating, right? Like, and you see it happen, like, in retrospect, you see it happen so much in Tender Is the Flesh, right? Where, yes, you're getting, like, the full scope of the human meat industry, and you're seeing how it impacts everyone. But women are being targeted in this at a exponential higher rate than like everybody else. Like when you're dealing, like what happens to women when they are, you know, forcibly impregnated to, you know, give birth to humans that are considered human meat, is start like they amputate their arms and legs so they can't move, so they can't like kill their children. Like what? So like now having that you know, knowing what's happening in Argentina, knowing what's happening in South America, and seeing how the author has put that into the book, I'm telling you, this is why I constantly say you can't read a book and separate art from the artist. You can't, like, art and life are one and the same. The author is influenced and experiences life, and it is in every book you find. You can't give me a book, and there's not a book you can give me and say that the two are like not intertwined. I always go back to thinking about Oscar Wilde and how, you know, during the Raphaelite movement, right? And like the art for art's sake, and, you know, beauty is what we should all just focus on, right? However, Oscar Wilde like everything Oscar Wilde is and does is in his books. Everything, especially A Picture of Dorian Gray. I think that's the title of it, right? Especially in that one. Like, you cannot separate art from the artist. It's impossible to do. So yes, this is an absolutely phenomenal book. Just even with all these things, it's written really well. There was a concern that I had that like the way it was written or the way it was translated was the third person almost felt, I don't even know how to explain it. I want to say it felt childish or rudimentary, but honestly, it wasn't. I think that writing it that way allows the reader to have a certain level of distance to where you can really just like picture everything with a bird's eye view rather than being stuck in all of the feelings of the characters, of like the impact of the industry. Like it gave you a level of distance when written that way. So I questioned it a little bit, but honestly I'm completely fine with it. That was a great choice, because I think I would have had more remorse for the main character if it was written in any other point of view, if it was written any other way. And I don't want that. I don't feel like any reader should have that with him. So yeah. It took me a while to get to this video, but like I said, I am not taking myself so seriously, and I'm just gonna talk. So I have a couple of videos, thankfully. I now have like maybe 4 or 5 videos in the bank, so I think I can't even tell you what the next exact video is. Can't even tell you that. Whatever vibes I'm feeling, we'll get one. But I have recently done interviews with Ebony Dunbar, who is author of Stone and Steel. I've also done an interview with LP Kindred, who is amazing, absolutely amazing. And his short stories, they're fantastic short stories. What else? I have to fix my sewing machine. Oh, and if you guys want to see my garden, let me know, okay? Because I have a garden out front that sometimes I put on TikTok about. Yeah, I live in the middle of the sticks. It's great. I am currently, like, for my Mother's Day gift to myself, I am asking for labor for my family, and we are going out sourcing supplies so that I can build my chicken coop, because I will be bringing chickens home this summer. Nobody else knows this, or hear me out. Okay, hear me out. I am doing a slow rollout. So I've been talking about chickens for like the last year or so, and I've been showing videos of building chicken coops, and you know, I have been pulling together some supplies, so I'm like, hey, this is for the chicken coop, and everybody's just been like, huh, okay. So now we're just gonna like fully dive into that, and then one random ass day I'm gonna bring home chickens. See, chaotic good. I'm using the same thing, but it's for good. It's for good. So we're not gonna judge me here. We learn. All right, this has been great. If you guys enjoyed this, if you liked it, like, share, comment what you think about Tender as a Flesh. If this video actually has you interested in reading it, you can find me all over the internet. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and I have a Substack. So yeah. I will check y'all on the next one. Later.